Hello there and welcome back. Y'all, I finally, I am appropriately using my ring light and psh, you can't tell me nothing. So, today I'm going to be reviewing The Dream Peddler by Martine Fournier Watson. Um, I'm sorry, I'm speaking like I feel like louder than I normally would because I'm right by the heater. And it's even making my phone wobble. My god. But you know what? It's whatever. It is the conditions I'm in right now. So, anyways, this book, I cannot recall when I finished it. I'll have to check on my Goodreads page for that, and then I'll pop that up on the screen. But yeah, as you can see, I have just like a bunch of post-it notes in there. Anyways, can we actually get the fuck going? Okay, yeah, let's go. So, the very first note that I put on here is it's too poetic all the time. I lose track of the story. And that's true. This one is like, I can't just narrow it really down to one paragraph because, like, if you break it down, like, sentence by sentence, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. But it's like all together, it's like every single sentence of the whole book is like that. Like, the whole thing. So on the front, it literally says astonishing, unfolds like a gorgeous poem, and like it does. Sorry, I have The Sims 3 up on my computer right now. So this was kind of a bad like critique to start on, but it was the first thing that I noticed. But I also put a little tag here that says, "But I do love alliteration." So, like, here on page 73, right here, so it's like the bottom half of that last paragraph on page 70. Did I say 78 before? I meant 73. So, this paragraph says, men held the backs of their women steady with their work-worn palms, the rough red shells of their knuckles turned toward the air. It was a parade of adults and only the oldest children, as though the Pied Piper had passed through town the night before. All the littlest children were at home, eating Evie's cookies under the watchful eyes of their grandmothers. So, like, for me, one of the things that I love about alliteration is, like, when it's placed well and, like, makes sense without seeming too crazy, like you're doing it just to do it. Like, for me, this sentence that says, the work-worn palms, the rough red shell, like, for me, those are giving the feeling of the sentence that it's, like, trying to convey, and I think that that's a really, really nice use of using, like, that, double letter sound, which is alliteration. And then, as though the Pied Piper had passed through town the night before. It just, yeah. I'm gonna say this a bunch of times. This is a really, like, beautifully written piece. And while it wasn't maybe the favorite, like, the best thing that I've ever read, like, it is really, like, well crafted, I think. And then the next post that I have just says, this book is low-key sexy, lol. So, let's see. This is on page 107. She would never let George know now how she had struggled with them. She kept quiet and fried pancakes this morning for breakfast and kissed his syrupy lips the way she used to. In the early days of their marriage, she used to kiss him whenever he ate something sweet and tell him he tasted like candy. And he would squeeze his hands on her breasts and tell her there was more where that came from, and she would laugh in the way that was part panting. They wouldn't bother to finish eating in their hurry to make love before the cows lowed heavy and miserable. And like I think also that was really beautiful in a way because any person who has ever been in, I would say, not a series, but like been in multiple, not multiple relationships at like the same time, but you know what I mean? Anyone who has really ever had a partner, like, kind of knows how things just really are like super hot and heavy in the beginning, and it doesn't always stay that way, and then the pendulum can kind of swing back and forth, and it just does over time. um but yeah, this is like, I don't know, something about that, it just was very sexy, I don't know, and not even in like a horny type of a way, but like, I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. And then right here, I have a whole entire post-it, I'm guessing because I probably could not find a pen. Yeah, okay, this one, I guess this is why I put the whole post-it there. So it's gonna be kind of a long read, so bear with me, I'm gonna fuck it up probably a whole bunch of times. But this is on page 137. It's a funny thing, you know, Robert spoke eventually. I've been to many towns like this one before and known many people who thought of leaving but never did. And maybe if they did leave, sure, their lives would be a bit better, but then again, maybe not. Life is a matter of routine in a sense, no matter where you are. Big city, small town, it doesn't make much of a difference. He pulled thoughtfully on the cigarette. There's no adventure in leaving when you come down to it. I've built a life on leaving, and I can tell you now, even that becomes routine. So, what are you saying? That there isn't any point to it at all? There's nothing out there to find? Jackson tossed his unfinished cigarette into the dirt, and its glow embered down to a single spark. Not exactly. Sure, there are things and people out there to discover, but your life is the adventure. Your life. Whether you choose to stay or leave. Robert reached over and placed his hand on Jackson's chest. It's in here, son. That adventure. It's in here, son. That adventure is in here. And like, I was feeling called out. Like, Robert is the Dream Peddler. He is just basically a traveling salesman. He goes from town to town, but he isn't selling like, you know, food or whatever. Like, his wares are different. He talks with the townspeople, finds out what they need, and he brews them up a potion that is going to make them have whatever dream they're wanting to have. So it's a real small town, but I guess I'm not even sure if this has a time period that it's set in, to be honest with you, because I didn't start to get interested until like about a third of the way through. I know. So I was 25%. But I just imagine everything being a little bit like, you know, kind of old-timey. I imagine Robert being not shabby, but I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I just picture everything being like old-fashioned, like their clothing and everything. The fucking heater just turned back on again. And I notice it, but I barely notice it enough to like preemptively do anything, you know? George is the husband. There's a little boy who goes missing, and then, spoiler alert, he is dead. George is the father of the little boy, whose name I cannot recall right now because I read this very many months ago, probably like in April or something. And he is married to Evie, and so Evie is the boy's mother, obviously. So they are trying to navigate how to do life now as a couple when their only child is no longer living. And things are different and they just don't, you know, that's how, again, like life is the adventure. That's kind of the theme of at least what I took out, what I felt like I needed to get out of this novel at this time. That, you know, it's never static, and that's kind of the point. Well, anyways, figuring out life. That's the tea, babe. Oh yeah, and Jackson. This is one of the neighborhood boys. So in this scene, well, not scene, but in this part that I just read, um, I'll have to reread, but I believe Jackson was. So there's a store owner in town, and I believe Jackson was like the son of the store owner, and I believe that his sister works at the store. I will have to reacquaint myself with this, but yeah, so Jackson and the Dream Peddler kind of have a complicated relationship in that eventually the reputation of the Dream Peddler is people are like, ugh, like why would anyone go to him even though they're like all going to him type of thing, you know? So anyways, the next point that I have, okay, let's see, is this from Jackson? Yes, okay. So Jackson is a character who it's partly because of his age, but there's just like kind of like a desperation like leaking off of him in a way. And at this point, Jackson had gotten a dream from Robert, and I don't recall if he bought it or if Robert gave him like a freebie, like a sample or whatever. On page 166. Oh yeah, and the heater just went off again too. The dreams would be the thing, he knew. He could feel a change coming, the liquid growing warmer, promising that a change would soon be worked inside himself. He would buy as many as it took, and then he would dream of women, only women, each more beautiful than the last. Their beauty and passion would overwhelm him, and there would be no more confusion. So for me, I kind of got that vibe from Jackson to begin with, and I highlighted this because my main point was just like, so yeah. Me not wanting to give spoilers, so I'm out here fucking playing third base coach. Like, yeah. Is she throwing gang signs? No, dude, she's not. Okay, here we go again. I have another little tab that says sexy but not vulgar. And this one is just, I honestly hope that my mom and sister just don't happen to catch this little tiny part. Where I'm reading this. Even in his dream, he is surprised to feel her bucking hips against him. As she starts to call out in her pleasure, even in his dream, he is surprised to feel her bucking hips against him. As she starts to call out in her pleasure, he hears himself shushing her like the swaying shafts of wheat, because he can't help thinking that even this far from the town someone might hear them. No time passes in the dream. He rolls away and feels the crackling stalks tickle, while the sunlight never moves from its midday stiffening in the sky. Eventually it becomes clear to him that they are frozen now, and only if they separate time will resume. So he rises and looks for his clothes, tossed into the wheat and clinging there. And the chaff peels away with them as he pulls them out. And the chafe peels away with Is that chafe? Let me look that up. Um, she makes no move to dress herself, only leans on an elbow and watches, one leg pulled over the other and hiding the place where he has just been. The faint, staggered stretch marks of her abdomen glimmer like lightning. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, it's not like smutty vibes, but it is really like, to me, this is to smut as like nude human sculpture is to pornography. Like, to me, they're just very much, they're not the same, and I'm not saying that, I'm not demonizing any one of them, but I'm saying, like, they are different art forms, really, truly. And this, I think, just the way that the words are put together, I don't know, it's just beautiful. Like, it's like just a very sexy language, you know? Jackson Banks is his name. Let me get comfy. So, this paragraph right here is discussing, oh, I guess I shouldn't say discussing, but it's the context for this, the setting is that, George and Evie gave George a nectarine? Some type of fruit. I believe it's a nectarine. And he didn't do anything. He kept it until it got old. And she was annoyed with him when he told her that. She had given him the fruit to eat, had pictured the juice when he broke its skin tickling into him because of her. Instead, he had kept it like a lock of hair. He had taken something she had not given, in a spirit fundamentally different from the one she'd intended. She had long forgotten it was she who told him, however jokingly, not to eat it, and eventually she accepted his choice. He had tried to sculpt a permanence where there was none, and she realized, in fact, this was her own definition of love. To me, what I got out of that was like the kind of like fickle nature of just really people in general, and like based on, you know, moods and whims and wishes and wants. No, not me naming everything in the Sims franchise. Okay, anyways, don't mind me, don't mind her. No, so this to me stood out because it was kind of just like, sometimes like I really felt like I had not like a bond with Evie, but sometimes I sometimes I internalize things way more than, you know, is healthy. And I think that sometimes it's so easy to just kind of fixate on feeling upset versus like, she had long forgotten it was she who told him, however jokingly, not to eat it. So it was like, not even a be careful what you wish for thing, but like, kind of in a way it's a little bit that. But yeah, I don't know, I just think it's funny, like, how sometimes people are, and I just think of myself specifically, like, I can just imagine me saying that to like my boyfriend and saying like, fine, well, don't eat it then. And then like, he doesn't eat the thing that I gave him, and he's like, well, you told me not to eat it. And then I'm like, either way, it's like, either way, you have made up some type of expectation in your head that like, either way, the thing, it's not like a winning situation. I don't know. This one, a quick, just little tiny note. There wouldn't have been much anyone could do about the fire, but stand and watch that the church didn't go up too. Eventually, Rachel took Emma to her mother's house, and then all I thought of was like Friends, because I did, because that's how my brain's wired personally. This one right here It's very important you see this. A man who can't control himself, his body and mind, is a danger to us all. True. Got 2 on 1 page again, baby. Let's see what that's all about. Okay, I have Dream social media. I think I know where I'm going with that. Okay, so this doesn't seem like it's on this page. Maybe that was something that just, like, came to me, like, at that point when I was reading. So I think what I was going for here, maybe, is that these dreams are, like, social media now. How we kind of use that as a way to, like, cope with our lives in a way that feels all at once too intimate and too removed. Could be. And so the context for this scene is that I believe they're at church right now, and Robert goes to church. I don't recall who invited him or if he just, like, went in. But the priest, is it? Pastor? Or whoever the guy in the front of this particular one church is, he's, like, kind of shading Robert, low-key, a little bit. And then, where did I say God? I have a little one that says got his ass. So somebody served somebody. Ooh, yeah, okay. So the up front of the church man, like I said, was shading Robert, and he was talking about how dreams are just, like, it's just that. It's a dream. It's not something that we can take to be real or word or, you know, he's kind of shitting on Robert's business right now. And that's, like, fully manipulation to the townspeople. But anyways, so the churchman is saying, the temporary satisfaction of a dream can never be brought over into your real life or the life of your souls. Only through worship and good works can we truly satisfy ourselves. The old wood of Robert's pew cracked as he lifted his weight from it. He gazed around at the people as they turned to realize he was standing in their midst. There was a long hollow of silence while they waited for him to exit. Instead, he spoke. It is my understanding that God sealed his covenant with Abraham's descendants by sending Jacob's ladder down to him in a dream. That Joseph married the Holy Mother because the angel Gabriel visited him in a dream. That's what I said, got his ass. Let's see what happens next, because I don't fully remember, to be honest. The faces turned away from him and back to the front of the church. Waiting for more of Mr. Arnold's fine words to rain on them. They remained dry. Robert went on. Joseph was able to save our Lord Jesus Christ, wasn't he? Because he was warned of Herod in a dream. Herod? Sorry about that. I'm not familiar with that book or those characters really too much. I leave it to you all to work out these questions for yourselves. Perhaps God has spoken to some of you in your dreams, perhaps not. I don't claim to be a prophet. I don't sell miracles. But I think if we're going to call on the Holy Book for our condemnation, we'd better be sure of it, hadn't we? Ah, okay, Robert. Okay, dude. Okay. We see you. Okay, right here, I put... Pick me, choose me, love me. Because I'm being so careful with these because one of my books ripped. It doesn't matter, you were, because there is love in your heart. All you have to do is turn it towards me, Mr. Owens. Robert, just turn it toward me. And, yeah, she's wilding out. She's asking too much. It's the, I believe this is the shopkeeper's daughter. Yeah, Cora. Oh my god, and so Robert is like a full-ass adult. I pictured him being like 35 or something. And Cora is a teen girl, and she's wilding the fuck out right now. She's like, Cora put her arms out and clasped her hands behind his neck, then pressed her lips to his. Like, she is wilding out. She did not know how to kiss him, and she kept him perfectly still, like a child. And that's another thing that there's a lot of struggle with Cora's character, because she is a teenager, and there's almost that weird, like, Lolitification of her own self, if that makes sense. She's still a child, but she's just trying so hard for whatever reason to try to get Robert, the Dream Peddler, to notice her. And I did not like the vibes that we created in the studio that day. Another note that I had was just to like look up the significance of fainting and sickness, because I also, in my note here, it says that there's fainting and sickness in Anna Karenina. But for this example, I think that maybe I didn't put it together quite at this time. Oh, I DNR'd, or no, DNR? I DNF'd Anna Karenina because it was like, this fucking thick, it's too much. And it was boring. So I'm gonna try to do it as an audiobook, but like, I think that I am smart, but I am not that smart, and I think that I am cultured, but I am not that cultured. And that's okay. Not everybody has to read Leo Tolstoy to be a worthy human, you know? Oh, but anyways, so for this reason, it's because she was telling everybody that she was pregnant with Robert's child, which was a fat lie. So, a spoiler alert again. And see, by now we're nearly at the end of the book. So there's been, I'm honestly not sure how much time in between, because that's the thing is, I don't even, was it a year? There was, I believe, a couple of different seasons. Anyways, George and Evie, which, remember, they're the couple, the married couple, the parents of the missing and then dead boy. And in their grieving process, they've just kind of grown just weary in general, but just far apart from each other, really. And this part I have just a little sticky. He held out his arms to her and she went into them. "Come back to me, Evie." "I'm trying," she said. And that just felt really powerful to me, especially because we kind of get to see, in the beginning of the book, they just are, life hasn't really happened to them yet. They didn't lose their son yet. So they're just kind of going along being a little family, and then they lose their son. And then we kind of get to see their process of dealing with that over time. And yeah, I don't know. This is just, I wrote here, this book is silky to read, because it is very, like, outside of the name, obviously, the Dream Peddler, it has a very, like, dream-like quality to it. And I really appreciated that. This part right here, I knew it. See, because, okay, Jackson is talking with Robert. Jackson shook his head. I don't believe it. I took one of your so-called dreams and it didn't work at all. Just wasted my money. I don't remember ever selling you anything. I got it from Toby. He's been selling those dreams you mix him all along. Probably charges more than you for his trouble. Makes himself a nice profit. He descended the steps and shouldered the bag he had dropped. I didn't realize. Jackson laughed. You must have thought Toby was one lonely sucker. I never thought that. Now Jackson turned to look up at him. The truth is, all this dream selling is just a cheap trick. This whole thing with Cora was your fault. I had to do it. The dream Toby gave me didn't even work. Robert drew in his breath. But Jackson, you can't expect a dream to change who you are. Jackson tilted his head back, veiling his eyes. And why not? Why can't I? And that was really pretty close to the end, and a lot of the characters had their own little individual wrap up, and then, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Robert kind of hit the town, you know, he did what he does, and he sold his product, and then he left, and that's what traveling salesmen do. And I cannot recall what I rated this on Goodreads, but this was a pretty good book as well. And then at the end, I will put just a little list of, like, in order of reading them, the best books of 2024. Thank you all for joining me today. Please like this video and subscribe. And if you have read this book, let me know what some of your thoughts were. Thank you. Bye.